Welcome back, and I also want to welcome back Justin Buzzard with us today. He is the lead pastor at the Garden City Church, a new church plant in Silicon Valley, and he's authored a book called The Big Story, How the Bible Makes Sense Out of Life. And let me encourage you to check it out at either Evangel or Christian Discount Books or Amazon or online, and put out by Moody Press. Hey, Justin, nice to see you again, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, great. Good to see you. Doing well. Glad to be here.
How's life in Silicon Valley?
Great. Beautiful day, gorgeous weather. Going to surf later this afternoon. It's great. Good day.
You pursued a dream there because you moved there with the sole purpose of starting a church in Silicon Valley. And what led you to do that?
Well, I've lived here in the San Francisco Bay Area, large area, 8 million people. I've lived here for, 12 years now, and I was up further north, closer towards San Francisco. I had formerly lived down here in the south part of the Bay, Silicon Valley, and I just couldn't shake a burden, a dream God was putting in my heart to plant a church down here that would engage the people of the city with the gospel in a fresh new way. And so I moved down here with my wife and my 3 sons, and it was definitely the most I'd say it's the most exciting and scariest day of my life. The day we moved, we had just 3 people committed to this church plant, just $3,000 in the church bank account, and but a lot of faith, a belief that God was in this and wanted to do something new here in our city. And it's been great. The church is almost 2 years old, and it's been very exciting to watch God show up and work and save people, make disciples, build up leaders, and start to really make an impact in the city.
I just think that's such a refreshing story because there's still plenty of church planting needed in America. We may think America's evangelized, but man, there's a lot of cities hurting, aren't there?
Oh, yeah, there's a tremendous need for church planting. I'm so encouraged. I think there's been a real recovery and resurgence of church planting in America and throughout our world. And I'm really excited about what I see happening here in my region, the Bay Area, but also throughout all of America. The church planting that's going on is very exciting.
The big story. It's kind of a story of your life, and yet you made the Bible, make sense out of life. Tell us about this.
Well, the reason I wrote this book was I wrote this book with 2 types of people in mind. I wrote this book for Christians, for people who already believe in Jesus and are already following him, and I wrote it for non-Christians. I have so many non-Christian friends who I love and who I enjoy and who I want to see know Jesus. And I felt like there was the need out there for a book that could introduce non-Christians to who Jesus is and the whole story of the Bible and how their life makes sense under that story, and that would also benefit Christians and enrich and deepen their walk with Jesus. So that's why I wrote this. I mean, the big idea of the book is that everyone believes some kind of a story to make sense out of their life. And my argument is that only the Bible has a story that's big enough to make sense out of both the beauty and the brokenness that we have in our lives and in this world. And so I present that story, and I try to woo and compel people, non-believers, into this story, and try to draw Christians deeper into this story and show them more of the riches of what the story means for their life.
Well, I think that's what I appreciate about it. It's a story. It's not just chapter 1, chapter 2. It actually dovetails together, and quite creative.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the Bible's the story, right? I mean, the Bible, this book, it's a story. From Genesis to Revelation, it's telling us one big story about God and his pursuit of us, his love of us, his desire to rescue us. So,
well, let me take some bits and pieces of this, Justin, because you do this in various acts, which is neat. And Act 2 is creation. And, if we don't get Genesis down, then the rest of the Bible's up for interpretation. But if we get Genesis down, then the rest of the Bible makes sense. Do you tackle it that way?
Yeah, well, I think Genesis chapter 1, 2, and 3 are pivotal. I mean, in a sense, I heard a professor one time say that if you just teach people the first 3 chapters and the last 3 chapters of the Bible, they'll get everything they really need. So, I mean, Genesis, beginning with Genesis, I even start chapter 1 of the book, I just call God, and I just deal with the first 4 verses of the Bible, in the beginning God. We first have to get that down. that this book starts in the beginning God, not in the beginning me. And once we get that down, that this is about God, life is about God, the story is about God, then we're set free to approach it from the proper perspective and to play our proper role. And then, yeah, moving on beyond those first four words of Genesis 1:1, and then we have creation, that we have a very good God who created a very good world where we're meant to know him and enjoy his creation. And yes, we have to get that down, and the purpose for which God put us on this earth, to be fruitful, to do meaningful work, to make a wonderful impact in this world for him.
All right, let me again just remind our viewers and listeners, it's called The Big Story, How the Bible Makes Sense Out of Life. It really is a terrific read, and let me encourage you to check it out. And it's put out by Moody, and I'm sure you can get it at Evangel, Christian Discount Books in Jacksonville, or check it out, Amazon or Barnes & Noble. You know, what's so interesting about this, Justin, is that early on you put into the scenario that there is a higher power and a higher authority. And if that isn't there, then those who don't understand the concepts of sin can't really grasp what this is all about.
Right. You have to start with God. You have to start with the fact that there is one God, and we're created to know him. And he's the one who gets to make the rules. He's God. He's God, and we're not. And we have to get that. And really, that sets you free. And you recognize, because that's what we all try to do. We all, the human heart's an idol factory. We're always making false gods for ourselves. We try to put ourselves in the position of God. Adam and Eve did that. And so we have to recognize that he alone is God and we are not. And once that's settled, you can begin to move through the rest of the story.
How do you deal with rebellion?
Well, that's chapter 3 of Genesis. That's what I call the next chapter, the third chapter of the book, rebellion. And that's that sin entered the world, that we're all rebels. We're all born into this world with a sinful heart. It started with Adam and Eve, and it's been passed down, that we rebel against God. There's something, I mean, and anyone who's a parent, right, is going to recognize that and agree with that. I've got my 3 sons. They're upstairs right now. One's having a fight with my wife right now. That's how we are. Like kids, we're born. We break the rules. We rebel. You don't have to teach kids how to do something wrong. You have to teach them how to do what's right and what's true, and how to obey mom and dad, and how to obey the Lord. So we're born rebellious. We have this deep rebellious streak in our heart, and it's not just a behavioral issue. It's a heart issue. There is something fundamentally wrong with the human heart, that rather than submitting ourselves to God and worshiping God, we kick against him and go our own way. And so something supernatural, something miraculous, a massive act of grace has to happen to heal that in us, to forgive our sin and to change us. And so then that's where I go after rebellion, is beginning to talk about that.
What do you mean, or what is private parts Christianity?
I want to talk about that later in the book, just that we have a real tendency, I think, in America to keep our Christianity private. We have a real tendency to compartmentalize our lives, and even can create a lot of parallel institutions to our culture, and they just become subcultures within America, where we and we need these institutions, but we create Christian schools, and we create Christian bookstores, and we create all these separate entities where people aren't really engaging with the culture, aren't really engaging with the city, with their Christianity. And as I read the New Testament, I see that the early Christians were out there in the city, in their culture, presenting the gospel of Jesus Christ thoughtfully and winsomely through their lives, through their words, through the callings and the work that God had placed on their life. And so I call private part Christianity this tendency, just like we have private parts that we kind of keep private, don't show to other people. A lot of people treat their faith in Jesus Christ that way. And that's not true faith in Jesus Christ. Christianity is fundamentally public. You can't escape that. It's always immediately missionary as you read through the Gospels, as you read through Acts. Anytime someone had an encounter with Jesus and their life was changed by him and they began to be a follower of him, there was immediately a sense of, I'm called now to be a missionary and to tell other people about this Jesus. And I don't think they were forcing themselves to do that. I think it was out of pure joy, the joy of encountering his grace, his undeserved love. They couldn't help but go and tell other people about him.
You talk about school, education, academia being somewhat of an obstacle. Explain that.
Yeah, well, I talk about that later on in the book. So we've moved through God, creation, rebellion, rescue,
Right.
and then home.
Right.
That one day we're going to be in the new heavens, the new earth. And then I add a chapter at the back on how to kind of live life in between the times, because we're in between the times right now.
Right.
Where one day we will be with the Lord, but right now we're still in a world that is broken. And so I want to equip people for how to live in this world. And so I talk about how school can sometimes be an obstacle. I mean, what God did with the first humans is he put them on the earth and he said, be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
And he didn't give them a roadmap of do this, then this, then this, then this, then this. And I think our school system, not in every case, it was this way a bit for me though. It's kind of built on standardized testing, and here's how you do it. Get this answer right, and you're going to be set. You'll pass the test. And I think a lot of people get very disoriented when they graduate from school, thinking that life is supposed to work that way, that everything's been pre-packaged and ordered for them, and they know the extracurricular activities to choose, and this is how it's going to work out. Instead, I think the Lord wants us to. It's more of an adventure. It's more of a mystery. It's more of a relying upon God, taking a look at how He's wired you, how He's built you, what your passions are, what the needs are in this world, living within a community that can affirm who you are and what you might be gifted to do. And you kind of are on this adventure figuring out how God wants to use you to make an impact in this world. And as I and my church deal with a lot of 20-somethings that are coming out of college, there's a lot of confusion out there. Like, wait, isn't it supposed to sort of be set for me? What is God's will? I got to figure it out exactly. And I want to set people free from that.
All right. Before I run out of time, I do want you to cover the home, because you deal with that in Act 5.
Yeah. Well, that's we're all homesick. I think we're all born homesick. We're looking to satisfy this homesickness that's in our hearts in maybe the home we live in, or the place we want to live, or through a marriage or a relationship. But the only thing that can satisfy that is God. And one day we will be home with Him. We were created to enjoy the one true God, to worship Him, to be in His presence. And one day we will be. And that's what the Bible clearly testifies to, that Jesus is coming back and He's bringing a new heavens and a new earth into order. We're going to be in this world, this life on the other side of life, on the other side of death, where there is no sickness, there's no crying, there's no weeping, there's no cancer. My mom is battling cancer right now for the second time. That there won't be that anymore. Where we live for eternity. And I think each day is going to be more interesting there as we learn more of who Jesus is and of His love for us, and as we're there with friends and with people. I mean, I can't wait to meet people from all kinds of different cultures. And I know we think like English is going to be what's spoken there, but there's going to be some language spoken there that we all understand, and worship Jesus and be together. And as Christians, we don't have to be afraid of death anymore, because Jesus has conquered death with His resurrection. And
well, Justin, I'm out of time, but thank you for writing this book. I think it's a great tool. And again, let me encourage you to get a copy. It's called The Big Story, and check it out and read it yourself, and then use it as a tool to share with others. Justin, thanks. Keep up the good work. Let's stay in touch. I love what you do, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
God bless. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.